Nazi, a group of people who want to rule the world. Hitler's second book was The World Order, the New World Order. The Council on Foreign Relations crowd are trying to establish today what Hitler established yesterday. But Hitler's been demonized. 85% of the people want a national ID card. They want what Hitler delivered.
We're living in the last days, what will be the prophecy? The seven-headed beast, place the hexagram upon the streets. Illuminati kamikaze, who are the real Nazis? Beware of the modern day Hitler. Your Masonic seals on your dollar bills suddenly transform into swastikas. 24 elders appear from the four corners as I recite verses from the scriptures. Angels ascend, the sky blackens, the sun turns into blood. Behold a pale horse rider from a distance. I see the four horsemen of the apocalypse. The entrance to the pyramids where the secrets of the lost ages are buried, wrapped up like mummies, uncovered like archaeology. This is the new discovery of the LCOB. Secret society, trying to keep the
Illuminati propaganda, enslaved through legal tender, holocaustic brain, Washington, superstate epicenter. There's nowhere to hide the great eyes on me. Entertainment industry, spiritual Zyklon B. Collectively collude to leave the free man slain, shepherding sheep into the concentration campaign. Run for your life to escape the Gestapo police. These are the real terrorists, and the fear won't cease. Capitus diminutia, engage in politics. Seers of Bavaria, worshipping the idol six. Totalitarian rule through conquest or consent. Total Aryan school, requested all the bombs sent. Yeah, you heard right, this is the new Third Reich. Double-headed eagle in flight, swoops like a thief in the night. As the prison walls harden, the parallel goals of Halliburton and IG Farben become apparent. Underneath the parent Union Banking Corporation of NYC heads up the distribution of RFID chips to make you slip into submission, become civilian citizens of neo-fascist jurisdiction.
Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body.
Children of lost souls, crossroads, source flows in the valley of death. Don't step where the corpse grows. Ain't nothing magic like Angel and Copperfield. Novus, Ordo Seclorum on a Masonic seal. Illuminati hobby ill, follow what they fathers build. Eye of illumination stamped upon a dollar bill. Secret symbology, the circle in the prophecy. Skull and bones, scroll, lock and key, that's the policy. Raping the nation, the philosophy is Satan. The hypocrisy we facing like we got to be forsaken. Lost without a savior, burning the corpse upon a cross without a neighbor, and toast the forgotten flavor. What? Neo-Nazi, fascism, the classism, collapse system that felt the venom when man bit him. When that's given, then nothing can ever come of this. The smoke and mirrors of shadow worlds that don't exist.
Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society, trying to keep the eye on me. Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society, trying to keep the eye on me. Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society, trying to keep the eye on me. Secret society want my mind, soul, and my body. But I'ma stay incognito. Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society, trying to keep the eye on me. Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society, trying to keep the eye on me. Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Illuminati want my mind, soul, and my body. Secret society, trying to keep the eye on me.
Yeah, welcome to The Machine Lies, where we talk about the lies of the machine on the machine that lies. And we got some special reflections for you guys today that I'm going to be essentially moving these types of shows, the Tuesday night show, to maybe a one topic experience because there's such limited time. Right. So since we've came to the entire first chapter of Ellul's Technological Society, I thought I'd reserve this time to sort of finish the concluding remarks that Ellul has, quite a lengthy section on the autonomy of technique. Right now, as we read in the Lul, technique can become autonomous, and this is when the human becomes the object of technique, right? And of course, technique that I guess no longer relies on natural forms of organization, on sort of cultural homogeneity. We're dealing with a technique that sort of recreates the humans, right, that participate in society, right, by increased atomization, increased, plasticity of the social milieu, right, and increased sense in which technique tends to have the ability um, for automation and efficiency, to tend to eliminate the factors of human choice that go into um, different ideas, right? And so we got lots of different ideas in terms of technique, and they seem to pervade the human conscience in that they seem to eliminate choice. It's the automation of choice, and the efficiency of means that tend to then deliberate in terms of removing human decision making, right? And as Alul says, all embracing technique is the conscience of the mechanized world, and technique has its own sort of applications throughout human society, but the main application that um, becomes the center of technique's dominance is human-centered techniques, right? And this is when technique sort of replaces economics, cultural factors, right? Also, science. Alul makes a strange sort of sometimes counterintuitive statement that technique or mechanization seems to guide scientific enterprise in our age, right? And upon further speculation, it does seem to be a fascinating truth, right? You know, so we're dealing with the autonomy of technique, whereas human society used to once rely on a sort of cultural homogeneity and upon the natural environment, right? The sort of mega machine, right? Or the coherence of human centered techniques, right? That takes dominance seems to form a order, right, that seems to guide technological innovation. And when humans seems to lose control of this sort of technological innovation, right, then you know it seems to use the human power, right, in order to guide um both cultural homogeneity, right? So obviously technique imbues a sort of cultural assimilation, right? But also um it tends to proliferate, you know, new types of, you know, I guess cultural diversity, right? In the way of, we're dealing with a new charged atmosphere in which technological innovation is put at the center of, you know, the sort of, you know, what's driving human society. So I think on the left side, right, you see a sort of scientific misanthropy that seems to blame human beings for the collusion of humans and technology, right? That seems to go beyond, right? Nature, right? So they seem to think that science, will save humanity, right, from this sort of crisis in terms of technology. They often blame capitalism and other things, right? On the right side, right, you have the critique of leftism, right? You have the critique of um you know a lot of ideas, but you have a sort of techno nihilism, right, that is talking about how if we don't have technological progress, right, we'll fail as a society. So in terms of technological progress and capitalism, right, they're sort of see, they don't seem to understand that these two things are sort of naturally opposed, right? So Ellul sort of goes into talking about how these ideas are sort of naturally opposed. I mean, and how individuality, liberalism, right? Okay, capitalism, that all gave birth to technological progress, right? Actually seem to be engulfed by technological progress, sort of slave giving birth to its own master, right? And a sort of ideal where um liberalism gave birth to its executioner, as Ellul says, right? So, you know, so we're dealing with the final idea of Ellul, and Ellul was very innovative in pointing out many ideas, like the autonomy of technique, can really be summed up in ideas of technological determinism that are just now making the rounds in several academic settings, right? And then you have the ideas of, is technology neutral, right? And you have several people now coming to the idea that it's not, right? So back in the day, maybe just 2 or 3 years ago, before the entire you know sort of world became more interconnected, right? Okay, they had more on the they saw that, I guess, technological innovation is going to continue down the road, right? Okay, now they began to take these ideas seriously, right? And also ideas that are sort of on the way to these ideas, like mass surveillance, pre-crime, international trade, and global communications. I mean, and all of these things that were also predicted by Lowell, right? Okay, okay. Let me look at the chat here, right? And then we'll get started and taking a look at some of the ideas of Ellul, right? And here is a StreamYard's invite for anybody who would like to join and sort of talk about, right? But I mean, I really don't care if even the Queen of England wants to join the panel. I mean, as long as she's willing to talk about Ellul and his ideas, right? If not, get a big old boot, right? To because I really don't care who you are, right? You know, I'm here to record my own reflections about what I think are the biggest problems with society, right? And really don't care who's listening. I'm really not in it for fame or success or wealth, power, or friends even. I mean, but you're welcome to talk to me. I'm rather cordial, right? Saturday's presentation, right? We went over lots of very important themes for you guys, including accelerationism, Discordianism, techno-Gaianism, transhumanism, okay, and how they're built on this ethos of this dialectic between chaos and emergence, right? That I've basically presented there, right? Uh, we got our resident Dostoevsky reader. I mean, blessings to you and Dostoevsky and all of his beautiful considerations. And one day maybe we'll have the an explanation of some Dostoevsky text. I mean, an excellent writer, but I don't think anybody's ever done this before. Doing a page by page analysis of an entire work, right? That of historical relevance, right? Such as the technological society, right? And I mean, I've talked so much about Ellul's ideas, and we'll be presenting a interview where we look at his work, Betrayal of the West, right, this week. So we'll have more analysis of Ellul's works, right, and how Western society in general, or European society, right, or sometimes also called, you know, um, Judeo-Christian, but we know that that is a misnomer, right? White or Judeo-Christian, that those might not be appropriate terminology, but maybe, you know, um, you know, okay, Western, right? Of course, that's also false because it presents a false dialectic between West and East, right? No term is really appropriate, but whatever we term modern society, right, had its origins in European society, however you want to call that, right? And what it gave birth to, which is liberalism, and then um technocracy, right? In the form of sort of techno liberalism, right? It's essentially, you know, created the bed of Procrustes, right? I've explained the bed of Procrustes before, right? Right? It's applying false standards, right? Arbitrary standards, right? Creating a arbitrary standard to measure all things by, right? So you create an idea in your mind, and you fix the world according to your ideal, right? That's the bed of Procrustes, right? Technology has become the bed of Procrustes from Greek mythology, right? But yeah, check out this special, Made by Machine Bob 2, where I expose Zionism. These guys going on Piers Morgan, like Andrew Wilson, when you have them being paid by these actors, like Rupert Murdoch, right, who's giving money to the Jerusalem Foundation, right, and paying for settlements in Israel for them to commit genocide, and meeting up with Benjamin Netanyahu and directly funding Benjamin Netanyahu, and and these types of things. You guys should go and pay attention to how, trying to support and promoting the cucked out media is actually giving money to some bad actors in the world, right? And so it's good that you guys are here paying attention to some family friendly programming, right? Where we don't react to other YouTube channels. We don't have lots of you know um theater games, uh which we actually exposed on the recent Truther Cop episode, right? But yeah, we're getting into Ellul here. But I'm looking at the chat here. Dominic Tersini, blessings to you. Joe Mills, blessings to you. Simplify complex problems. Yeah, blessings. Yeah, thank you for acknowledging the Ramadan fast. You're in. Yeah, peace be with you, my brother. I mean, definitely I have to check out that email. Use this metaphor. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right. Interesting. Yeah. Yeah. Blessings to Denise. Thank you for being here. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Okay, we got the infamous Red 40 in the chat. Get a job. Filthy. With his gay lover, Aluma Dummy. I mean, can you believe that type of stuff? That's totally uncalled for, man. Can't believe it. But yeah, hey yo, the freak, blessings, bro. Uh Red 40's been thinking about me all week. Uh, it's unfortunate. Some people, I'm all too much on their mind. You know, like the sanity machine, King Queefin. He's thinking about me too. Blessings to Bex. I mean, thank you, Sam. Thank you for being here. DeFreak, thank you for being here. Technique leads to better efficiency, which leads to a better society, which seeks more techniques. I mean, the rule of efficiency is a rule of softness. And why should efficiency be the goal of society? Right? These are all unanswered questions. Right? We got the homie TA with 72. Blessings, brother. I mean, Hanko Flamio, thank you for being here. Oh yeah. Yeah, you guys were on Benjamin's show. Talking about seeds, growing seeds. Interesting, huh? But God can make a rock so big. Can God make a rock so big he couldn't lift it? God's not subject to natural laws, right? I mean, so I mean, you know, so yeah, there is no rock that God could not lift. I mean, rocks are, you know, not real. You know, God is more real than rocks, right? Let me just put it that way, right? So, you know, yeah, as if he needed to lift anything, exactly. I mean, family friendly time. Yeah, we got family friendly time. I mean, you know, Master Trismegistus. Maybe we're already asleep. Exactly. Yeah, Red 40. Yeah, we gotta get yeah, we gotta make a lot of accounts called Red 40 that are gay for Tariq. That's how this is gonna go. I mean, you'll never show your face in this town again. You know, you fat stinky bum. I mean, but yeah, some people are busy working with uh it's hard to tell what they are at this point. You know what I mean? I'd say some sort of traveling circus act. You know, but but yeah, we got a lot of shows. Okay, improv comedy LARP shows in the vicinity, right? And you could watch that. Okay, totally scripted drama, right? Okay, with people who would never ever communicate on that level. Okay, face to face with their family or ever expose their family or ever expose anybody. Okay. To any of the concerns and themes that we represent here, let me go ahead and grab my work here with ellul. Sorry about that. Yeah, I'm actually yeah. But you know, as I've been explaining, you know, ellul has three concepts here that he explains, right? Okay, and that's roughly speaking technique, okay, which is the total ensemble of means that man employs towards a particular end, right? And I explained technique, okay, as the essence of the technological, right? Now, technique, right? It could have many different extrapolations, right? You just have technique itself, which can be broadly thought of, as I said, right? Methods or means that one employs, right? Towards a particular end, right? Okay. So as it is the complexification of means, the enframing of means towards a particular end, right? The efficiency of means, right? Okay. Now, in mechanization, you have efficiency, right? Okay, and automation, right? And also lack of type, right? You want a single machine, right? So machines, they sort of reduce a diversity of forms. So efficiency itself, efficiency of means tends to reduce the diversity of forms, right? Then you have self-augmentation or augmentation of techniques across different expertise, right? Okay, through that, you have the necessary linking up of techniques, right? So not only does it form a technical complex, but it forms a sort of technical monism, right? Between different parts of the system, right? Now, once the system forms an interconnected whole, right? Right. And every technique that's invented has to be put to use, right? Then technique begins to be employed in every aspect of society, right? So as you have a technical monism, then you have developed through that a technical universalism, right? So all of these different factors come into play in ellul's explanations. But as I said, there's three different factors that are key in understanding the technological system, right? One is technique, right? Right. Second is human society, right? Which develops through the use of techniques, right? Okay, but most of those techniques are formed through cultural diversity, right? Okay, and they're human-centered techniques, right? Now, when technique begins to make humans its object, right, and the study of humans becomes the central aspect of technique, right, and technique takes center place in human society, right? Then you have the technical civilization emerge. Okay. Okay. Now, how does this technical civilization emerge? It emerges through a key factor. The key factor is mechanization, right? Right, mechanization, right? The machine is what integrates. I mean, technique is what integrates the machine into human society, as Ellul says, right? Right. The machine itself is antisocial, right? New techniques, when they proliferate, society tends to respond slowly. Culture tends to respond slowly, right? To the dynamics of technique. But once technique becomes settled in, it becomes the integrating factor. It takes place of both culture, the natural environment, economic systems, right? And it tends to guide scientific innovation, as I said earlier, right? So there you have the entire edifice being complete, right? And the autonomy of technique. So we're going to get into Ellul for the next few hours here. And I have a couple videos as well. Okay, looking at some of the key concepts and ideas that Ellul mentions, and I sort of searched them on you know on the YouTube and saw what would come up, so I could explain to you guys some of these key concepts in a very sort of rudimentary, simplistic fashion with lots of image displays, and okay, so you guys can all understand how innovative Ellul was in formulating these primary conceptions of how technology, right, could start to guide human society. Okay, and the autonomy of technique within That's society, right? So I'm going to start reading in here from page 133 in Technological Society by Jacques Ellul, The Autonomy of Technique, right? And let me get it up in this chat here and pin the link up. And please go ahead and join the discussion if you'd like, right? But yeah, he begins by saying, he says, the primary aspect of autonomy is perfectly expressed by Frederick Winslow Taylor, a leading technician. He takes as his point of departure the view that industrial plant is a whole in itself, a quote unquote closed organism, an end in itself, getting at quote what is fabricated in this plant and what is the goal of its labor. There are questions outside its design. Question. Okay, outside its design. Okay. The complete separation of the goal from the mechanism. Okay. There we go. The complete separation of the goal from the mechanism, right? Okay. As the complexification of means, right? We see what technique delivers to us, right? But we don't see how it delivers what it delivers to us, right? Okay, this is not only because of the complexification of means, but it's also because of the rule of experts, as we've said before, right? And it's also because of the accelerating pace of innovation, right? So there's many different factors which I guess cause us to evade, right? Goal from mechanism, right? Right. And now that's especially apparent in the communications technologies, right? Right, because a technology that's there to help you communicate, right? Okay, is made of code in framing information. Okay, and also we know the plasticity of content in the digital age. Right. So the total separation of goal from mechanism. Right. Okay. The limitation of the problem to the means. We had limitation of the problem to the means, right? Okay, now it doesn't matter what is to be done, right? Only how it is to be done, right? It's almost that a world that's ruled by technique, people can applaud something that's done well, no matter what it is, right? They applaud efficiency at all costs, right? So in a way, right, if something gets done, it's good, right? If it gets done well, it's really good, right? Right. So focusing on the means instead of the goal, right? Okay. And also separation of goal from mechanism, right? Completely, right? The refusal to interfere in any way with efficiency, right? Okay, I already mentioned that, right? All this is clearly expressed by Taylor and lies at the basis of technical autonomy. Autonomy is the essential condition for the development of technique, as Ernst Cohn Bramstead study, right, of the police clearly indicates. The police must be independent if they are to become efficient. They must form a closed, autonomous organization in order to operate by the most direct and efficient means and not be shackled by subsidiary considerations, right? You know, right. We can't have the police follow the traffic laws if they want to catch somebody who's breaking the traffic laws, right? Okay, so the police, in order to be effective, they have to be, okay, autonomous. And of course, they're going to use their techniques, right? Once a technique is available, it has to be used, right? Okay. And also, there's another function of techniques, right? Here, hold on. Yeah, there's another function of techniques where it sort of functions on a level where they're applied to the guilty and the innocent alike, right? So there's that aspect of things as well, right? So yeah, hold on a second, cutie. Let me just finish a few points. You know what I mean? And be careful with the be careful with the buttons and everything. Just give me a second. Yeah, but yeah, so we'll figure it out. But yeah, it says so he goes on to say they must form a closed autonomous organization in order to operate by the most direct and efficient means and not shackled up by subsidiary considerations. Right, I just read that. And in this autonomy, they must be self-confident in respect to the law. Okay, it matters little whether the police action is legal if it is efficient. The rules obeyed by a technical organization are no longer rules of justice or injustice. They are quote unquote laws. In a purely technical sense, as far as the police are concerned, the highest stage is reached when the legislature legalizes their independence of the legislature itself and recognizes the primacy of technical laws. This is the opinion of Best, a leading German specialist in police matters, the autonomy of technique. Right? Okay, I like how he says that laws become techniques themselves, right? That the most efficient means to do something is the one that's applied, right? So yeah, he goes on to say the autonomy of technique must be examined in different perspectives on the basis of different spheres in relations to which it has this characteristic. First, technique is autonomous with respect to economics and politics. Okay, with respect to economics and politics, we have already seen that at At present, neither economic nor political evolution conditions technical progress. Okay, its progress is likewise independent of the social situation. The converse is actually the case. A point I shall develop at length. Technique elicits and conditions social, political, and economic change. Okay. Okay, let me read that again. Okay, he says, we have already seen that at the present, neither economic nor political evolution conditions technical progress. Its progress is likewise independent of the social situation. Right? Okay, and we gave many different examples of how this is true, right? Of how technique creates the cultural, right, or social situation, right? Okay, his next chapter is about the political and then subsequently the economic situation in which that technique basically conditions. All right. And so the converse is actually the case. Okay. That it's not these things, okay, the social, political, economic, that condition technique, right? It's not culture or science that conditions technique, right? It's technique that conditions all of those factors, right? Technique elicits and conditions social, political, and economic change. It is the prime mover of all the rest, in spite of any appearance on the contrary, in spite of human pride, which pretends that man's philosophical theories are determining influences, and man's political regimes, decisive factors in technical evolution. External necessities no longer determine techniques, right? Okay, that's a key factor, right? Okay. Okay, in the post-human, post-scientific, right? Post-cultural, right? Post-geological sphere, right? Okay. Okay. It's not philosophy. Actually, philosophy has become technicized, right? Right. And religion to a certain extent, right, has had to give way to uh, science and its theories, right? As I've said in the past, science promotes, anthropocentrism, right? They think that the hubris of man, right, can figure out 99.9% of what's going on in the universe, right? Okay, and turn nature into trash, right? With their inventions, right? What about religion? Religion believes in anthropomorphism, right? It constantly attributes causes to either man or God that are not man or God. All right, and it tends to draw God down into the human domain, right? Right now, the problem is that neither of them really put man, nature, and technology in their particular spheres of influence, right? In their appropriate spheres of influence, right? Okay. And all right. Yeah, I'll read that again. He says, in spite of human he said that technique elicits and conditions, social, political, economic change. It is a prime mover of all the rest, in spite of any appearance on the contrary, in spite of human pride, which pretends that man's philosophical theories are still determining influences and man's political regimes decisive factors in technical evolution. External necessities no longer determine technique. All right. And all right, I'll go on. It says technique's own internal necessities are determinative. Okay, technique has become a reality in itself, self-sufficient, and with its special laws, its own determinations. Let us not deceive ourselves on this point. Suppose that the state, for example, intervenes in the technical domain. Either it intervenes for sentimental, theoretical, or intellectual reasons, and the effect of its intervention will be negative or nil. And it intervenes for reasons of political technique. And we have combined we have the combined effect of two techniques, right? Okay, there are no other possibilities. The historical experience of the last years shows this fully. To go one step further, technical autonomy is apparent in respect to morality and spiritual values. This is what I was just saying, right? Okay, it even encroaches into the domain of religion, right? Okay, technique tolerates no judgment from without and accepts no limitations. It is by virtue of technique rather than science that the great principle has become established. Okay? Chakun Ches Soy. I don't know what that means, right? I got to look that up. Chakun Ches Soy. Chakun Ches Soy. I don't know what that means, right? Chakun Ches Soy meaning. Oh, okay. I guess it means that everyone agrees. There won't be no disagreement. So it assimilates everyone, right? And yeah, so let me go on. Morality judges moral problems. As far as technical problems are concerned, it has nothing to say. Right? All right. And this is sort of what Kant's categorical imperative has led to, anyways. Right? That morality, art, they stay out of the realm of reason, right? So, reason has to have its own dominance, right? So this is another problem. Okay? The autonomy of reason itself, right? All right, is a huge factor. Okay? As we'll get to see, right? But yeah, he says the power okay, here, hold on. Morality judges moral problems as far as technical problems are concerned. It has nothing to say. Only technical criteria are relevant. Technique in sitting in judgment on itself is clearly freed from the principal obstacle to human action. Whether the obstacle is valid is not the question here. For the moment, we merely record that it is an obstacle. Thus, technique theoretically and systematically assures to itself that liberty, which it has been able to win practically, right? Since it has put itself beyond good and evil, it need fear no limitation whatever. It was long claimed that technique was neutral. Today, this is no longer a useful distinction. See, this is one of the first people to make this distinction, right? Okay, meaning that technique is morally neutral, right? Meaning that it doesn't matter, right? What technology you use, right? It matters who is using it and for what, right? But now it can no longer be argued that certain types of technology are not inherently destructive on their own, is what ellul is saying. Right? This fundamental, really important point. That technique and science, they don't care about morality, right? Moral considerations are not part of technical considerations, right? Okay, efficiency and utility and all these types of things, they're not part of a moral calculus, right? All right? Simply not part of a moral calculus, right? Let's go on a little bit. Okay, it says the power and autonomy of technique are so well secured that it in its turn has become the judge of what is moral, the creator of a new morality. Thus, it plays the role of a creator of a new civilization as well. This morality, internal to technique, is assured of not having to suffer from technique. In any case, in respect to traditional morality, technique affirms itself as an independent power. Man alone is subject, it would seem, to moral judgment. Okay, we no longer live in what primitive epoch in which things were good or bad in themselves. Okay? Notice how he relates this to the instinct of a primitive age. Right? Okay? Sort of a animistic quality, right? Okay? That things could have a spirit or quality in and of themselves, an essence. This is totally all done when technique is the great mediator, when it becomes Grand Inquisitor, right? Now let's go on. Let's go on. Right? It says this morality internal to technique is assured of not having to suffer from technique. In any case, in respect to traditional morality, technique affirms itself as a independent power. Man alone is subject, it would seem, to moral judgment. We no longer live in a primitive epoch in which things were good or bad in themselves. Technique is itself neither and can therefore do what it will. It is truly autonomous. However, technique cannot assert its autonomy in respect to physical or biological laws. Instead, it puts them to work. It seeks to dominate them. Okay, Gideon, in his probing study of mechanization and the manufacture of bread, shows that whatever mechanization it encounters in whenever sorry, excuse me. Quote, wherever mechanization encounters a living substance, bacterial or animal, the organic substance determines the laws. Unquote. For this reason, the mechanization of bakeries was a failure. More subdivisions, intervals, and precautions of various kinds were required in a mechanized bakery than in a non-mechanized bakery. The size of the machines did not save time. It merely gave work to larger numbers of people. Gideon shows that how the attempt was made to change the nature of the bread in order to adapt it to mechanical manipulations. In the last resort, the ultimate success of mechanization turned on the transformation of human taste. Okay, so 3 steps here, right? He mentions, right? First, right? Technique changes the products that it cannot subject to mechanization, right? And when it cannot change or transform those products and makes them subject to mechanization, it even manufactures a new type of product, right? A new type of substance that it can manipulate, right? And then ultimately it changes human taste, right? By making it adapted to the alternative substance that can be manipulated instead of the raw product, right? Okay. Okay. And okay, let's go on. And that's another extrapolation, right, that he's saying of how, goal and mechanism are completely separated, right? Right? All right. In the complexification of means, right? Okay. Whenever technique collides with natural obstacle, it tends to get around it either by replacing the living organism by a machine or by modifying the organism so that it no longer presents any specifically organic reaction. Very important point, right? Let me read that again. Whenever technique collides with a natural obstacle, it tends to get around it either by replacing the living organism by a machine or by modifying the organism so that it no longer presents any specifically organic reaction. Okay? Huge point right there. Right? Okay? And okay, let me go on for about 10 more minutes and take a little musical break here, okay? And in the meantime, if you guys want to come and join the panel, feel free to do so. By hitting the link out there, blessings. And all right, here we go. The same phenomenon is evident in yet another area in which technical autonomy asserts itself: the relations between technique and man. Okay, so finally, technique makes man its object, right? Okay. Okay, and puts the science, right, of the objectification of man as its primary business within human civilization, right? Okay, that's how technique becomes the center point of human civilization, right? All right. Okay, he says, we have already seen in connection with technique itself, augmentation, that technique pursues its own course more or less independently of man. This means that man participates less and less actively in technical creation. When by automatic combination of prior elements becomes a kind of fate, man is reduced to a kind of level of a catalyst. Better still, he resembles a slug inserted into a slot machine. He starts the operation without participating in it. Slug inserted into a slot machine, huh? It's like some Clockwork Orange. Right? But this autonomy with respect to man goes much further. Right? To the degree that technique must, again, its result with mathematical precision. It has for its object the elimination of all human variability and elasticity. Right? So the plasticity of the social milieu and the conformity of the human, these two paralleling factors, right? Which really collude in two main factors abroad, right? Right, which is increased alienation and over socialization, right? And we saw this in the manifesto as well, right? Feelings of inferiority and over socialization, right? Right? But this autonomy with respect to man goes even further to the degree that technique must attain its result with mathematical precision, he says. It has for the object of elimination all human variability and elasticity. It is a commonplace to say that the machine replaces the human being, but it replaces him to a greater degree than has been believed. Industrial technique will soon succeed in completely replacing the effort of the worker, but it would do so even sooner if capitalism were not an obstacle. The worker no longer needed to guide or move the machine to action, will be required merely to watch it and to repair it when it breaks down. He will not participate in the work any more than a boxer's manager participates in a prize fight. This is no dream. The automated factory has already been realized for a greater number of operations, and it is reliable for a far greater number. Examples multiply from day to day in all areas. Man indicates how this automation and its attendant exclusion of man operates in business offices. For example, in the case of the so-called tabulating machine, the machine itself interprets the data and elementary bits of information fed into it. It arranges them in text and distinct numbers. It adds them together and classifies the results in groups and subgroups and so on. We have here for the administrative circuit accomplished by a single self-controlled machine. It is scarcely necessary to dwell on the astounding growth of automation in the last 10 years. The multiple applications of automatic assembly line, the automatic control of production and operation, so-called cybernetics as well are well known. And this is in 1964 that he's writing all this, right? Another case in point is the automatic pilot. Until recently, the automatic pilot was used only in rectilinear flight. The finer operations were carried out by the living pilot, As early as 1952, the automatic pilot affected the operations of takeoff and landing for certain supersonic aircraft. The same kind of feat is performed by automatic direction finders in anti-aircraft defense. Man's role is limited to inspection. Okay. This automation results from the development of servo mechanisms, which act as substitutes for human beings in more and more subtle operations by virtue of their feedback capacity. Okay. So, he goes on about how both the individual is a brake on progress, right? But also the individual's role is limited and limited more and more as mechanization ramps up, right? So so I'm just going to read a little bit more here, right? And then we'll go ahead and open up and figure out what's going on here. Blessings. And I'll go ahead and check out what's going on in the chat. I mean, and yeah, he says the progressive elimination of man from the circuit must inexorably continue. Is the elimination of man so unavoidably necessary? Certainly. Freeing man from toil is itself an ideal. Beyond this, every intervention of man, however educated or used to machinery he may be, is a source of error and unpredictability. The combination of man and technique is happy one only if man has no responsibility. Otherwise, he is ceaselessly tempted to make unpredictable choices and is susceptible to emotional motivations, which invalidate the mathematical precisions of the machinery. He is also susceptible to fatigue and discouragement. All this disturbs the forward thrust of technique. Man must have nothing decisive to perform in the course of technical operations. After all, he is the source of error. Political technique is still doubled by certain unpredictable phenomena in spite of all precision of the apparatus and skill of those involved. But this technique is still in its childhood. In human reactions, however, well calculated they may be, a coefficient of elasticity, quote unquote, causes imprecision. The imprecision is intolerable to technique. As far as possible, this source of error must be eliminated. Eliminate the individual, and excellent results ensue. Any technical man who is aware of this fact is forced to support the opinions voiced by Robert Junk, Jung, Jungk. I don't know how to say that, right? Which can be summed up thus: the individual is a brake on progress, or, quote, considered from the modern technical point of view, man is a useless appendage, unquote. Considered from the modern technical perspective, man is a useless appendage, right? All right. For instance, 10% of all telephone calls are wrong numbers due to human error. An excellent use by man of so perfect an apparatus, right? Okay. Of course, that 10% could be eliminated if you just tell AI to search your contact list and call the number that you tell them to call by voice command, right? You would never dial the wrong number in, right? See, this is the type of error, and human error is eliminated to benefit the system, right? And we think it's being done for human convenience, right? But imagine what the incredible loss that phone companies would be facing by that error, by that human error of people just dialing the wrong number, right? You know, they're probably thinking they're losing millions of dollars of phone time, right? Billions of dollars of phone time a year just by people making that mistake, right? Right. Now that statistical operations are carried out by perforated machines instead of human beings, they become exact machines no longer perform merely gross operations. They perform a whole complex of subtle ones as well. And before long, what with the electronic brain, they will attain an intellectual power which man is incapable. And he predicts the electronic brain, right? All right. In 1964, there's probably movies and stuff about it. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, they had Metropolis and stuff. I don't know. But yeah, interesting. Then he says, thus the great changing of the guard, quote unquote, is occurring much more extensively than Jacques de Boyne envisaged some decades ago. Okay. Gaston Boutoul, Bouthoul, a leading sociologist of the phenomenon of war, concludes that war breaks out in a social group when there is, quote, a plethora of young men surpassing the indispensable tasks of the economy, unquote. When, for one reason or another, these men are not employed, they become ready for war. It is a multiplication of men who are excluded from working which provokes war. We ought at least to bear this in mind when we boast to the continual decrease in human participation in technical operations. Right? Okay. We're going to go on to a little break now, right? Before we move on with another sort of hour or so of ellul, right? And man, it is actually okay. So we got 10 more pages left, right? So hopefully I'll be flying through this, right? But yeah, I'm hoping to get through reading 10 more pages of this before we're done with this show. But if I go a little over, I guess I won't mind. You know what I mean? But yeah, we got some music, open up the panel. You know what I mean? Hey, blessings, cutie.
Hey,
Hey, what's going on?
can you hear me?
Yeah, but you have an echo, so you could chill out, but you're gonna have to mute up until we figure out the echo, cutie. I mean,
Okay.
because it's gonna ruin the show. I mean, but check out this video I made earlier, huh?
Okay, babe.
All right, and we'll be right back. Blessings, and we got us on the panel right now. The panel's open. I know somebody said they wanted to join. Tawit said they wanted to join. So of course you're more than welcome, brother. You know what I mean? Join me and my wife are up here right now. She's having audio issues. We'll figure that out at some point. You know what I mean? But yeah, if you get bored, don't worry. Just click out of here, okay, cutie? But
Okay.
yeah. But but yeah, in terms of the video, check out this video I made, musical break. We'll go into a little musical break. Orange, blessings. I mean, and Jay Nelson, thank you for being here. Saw you over at Infinite Plane Society. Peace to the homie over there. I mean, and yeah. Anyways, check out this music, and we'll be back in about 10 minutes with more ellul. And yeah, talking about the autonomy of technique and how technology is guiding most of human decisions. This is because mechanization has taken over the scientific enterprise. It's led to cultural homogeneity, so it's taken over the cultural enterprise, and it's also melded the political and the economic spheres, and now it's guiding the economic sphere by sort of international trade. and monoculture, right? So there's all of these factors that, Ellul basically predicted would be caused by technology, the spread of technology, right? But yeah, we'll be back.
You were born to submit your will to do the will of God, whether Prophet Muhammad came or didn't come, whether Abraham came or didn't come, whether Moses came or didn't come. We were before Abraham, before Moses, before Muhammad.
You listen, feel it like my hammer better than the rest. I say you know, see this I DJ in my king of the crowd. Get it from the bottom, they go right to the top. Boom from a hair that I wear sharp. Me say ride up on a rhythm on a rock a soul jump. Me say look come alive, Baba from a Muslim culture. Me say 5 in the morning, me go piss to Allah. Me say look come alive, Baba from a Sikh culture. You go be sing, give him a the 10th leader. Living a hajj in Saudi Arabia. Look up this ulama, he go praise to Allah. The black baby prophet Muhammad sallallahu. Run that they are the Muslim and the Muslim culture. Me say come me mama, the mosque leader. Me say 5 times a day, me go praise to Allah. Last prophet on the earth, Muhammad sallallahu. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, and la ilaha illallah. Me say shock out, the man me go praise to Allah. Me coveted the country in a translation. And me say Allah is my one and all a creation. Come me break your head, him up the chin man. I'm on good okay, flop a stamina. Me say circle, hey me go stop the ganja. You know say this I dig in, go flop a stamina. Now enough of them are wild, me say enough of them are black. Me say all I walk a life in a me culture. So just come talk to me papa, me come a dance, me go make the bass drop. Pakistan, me say me can't take the heat,
Mr. Bush is calling for a new world order that he wants to be the head of. Europe is getting together again as they did at the turn of the century when they got together to carve up Africa. They're getting together again, and the third world again is the prize.
What's up now? Punk chicks? Yeah. Hey, what's up? We got a problem, Two Pit? I said, do we have a problem? Oh, you got a problem, buddy. Right here. Here's your right there. Right there. All right. Say, look down. Right here. I said, do we have a problem? Huh? Oh, USSR. Now you better get your stank asses up out of here before I cause a nuclear holocaust up in here, fool. Let's go. Oh, come on now. Fool, it'll be Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah, blessings. We're back out here on the machine lines. And yeah.
I like
Sam.
that second video.
Yeah. Silly. For sure. But yeah, correct. Morals are not a part of technology. That's right. Whirling dervishes. Yeah. Spine of dragon. Bear Jew blessings. That which is blessings. Thank you for being here. Okay, we got a few more things out here we're gonna sort out for you guys. You know, in terms of ellul, hopefully we're gonna get through the rest of this chapter here, and that'll be the remainder of the show. I mean, so here, you know, and I got a couple of videos here that I want to pull out in a minute here. You know, that also explains some of ellul's main ideas. Right here, he's kind of talking about technological determinism and how technique seems to guide human society when you know technological innovation takes a central role in guiding human society, right? And obviously, technology conditions human behavior. You know what I mean? And all of that. So in that sense, it alters the moral sort of landscape, right? As if to say, right? And yeah. So there's all of these factors, right? But yeah, I'm gonna read a little bit more of this, and then we're gonna get to a main concept, right? Technological determinism, and then we'll get to another key concept, which is technology morally neutral, right? Which Sam seems to agree. I seem to agree, right? So yeah.
All right, babe, I'm going to jump off here. I just wanted to come and say hello and support your show.
Okay, cutie. All right.
All right, I love you.
Yeah, just call me tonight, okay?
Okay, bye.
Okay, bye. And yeah, anybody else want to jump up here? It's up to you guys. Feel free. Join the discussion out here. And yeah, so he goes on to say, he says, the great changing of the guard is occurring much more extensively than Jacques de Boyne envisaged, right? And of course, he's talking about decrease in human participation in technical operations. Obviously, de Boyne was, I think, one of his mentors, right? Now I could be wrong about that, right? Right, the French names, I mean, but yeah, it says technique is not, for example, autonomous in respect to clock time, right? He says there's basically spheres of human influence, right, where technique will not be able to encroach into, right? And he says, so he gives the example of clock time, where he says machines, like abstract technical laws, are subject to the law of speed. and coordination presupposes time adjustment. In his prescription of the assembly line, Gideon writes, quote, extremely precise timetables guide the automatic operations of instruments, which, like atoms in a planetary system, consist of separate units but gravitate with respect to each other in obedience to their inherent laws. This image shows in a remarkable way how technique became simultaneously independent of man and obedient to the chronometer. Technique obeys its own specific laws, and every machine obeys laws. Each element of the technical complex follows certain laws determined by its relation with other elements, and these laws are internal to the system and in no way influenced by external factors. Okay, that's one of the key points. Okay. Okay, the laws inhibited by technique are not part of the environment in which it functions, right? It's part of the internal coherence of the machine itself, right? Not subjected to external factors, right? It is not a question of causing the human beings to disappear, but of making him capitulate. Inducing him to accommodate himself to techniques and not to experience personal feelings and reactions. No technique is possible when men are free. When technique enters into the realm of social life, it collides ceaselessly with the human being, and to the degree that combination of man and technique is unavoidable, and the technical action necessarily results to a determined result, technique requires predictability and no less exactness of prediction. Let me know if you guys can still hear me if I do this. Can you guys still hear me? Am I still audible to the audience? Yeah, let me know if you guys can hear me. Blessings, right? All right, cool. All right, moving on here. It says it collides ceaselessly with the human being to the degree that the combination of man and technique is unavoidable. The technical action necessarily results in a determined result. Technique requires predictability. Requires predictability. Okay. And no less exactness of prediction in the necessary. Then the technique prevails over the human being. For technique, this is a matter of life or death. Technique must not reduce man to a technical animal, to a king of slaves of technique. Okay, to a king of the slaves of technique. Human caprice crumbles before this necessity. There can be no human autonomy in the face of technical autonomy. The individual must be fashioned by techniques, either negatively by the techniques of understanding man, or positively by adaptation to man to the technical framework. In order to wipe out the blots, in order to wipe out the blots, his personal determination introduces into the perfect design of the organization. All right. Yeah, let me throw this up. Maybe I could throw this up too. You know what I mean? Throw this shit up here. He must be of calm temperament and even temper. He must be phlegmatic. He must not have too much initiative. He must be devoid of egotism. The ideal jet pilot is already along in years, perhaps 35, has settled direction in life. He flies his jet in the way a good civil servant goes to his office. Human joys and sorrows are fetters on technical aptitude. Junk cites the case in which the test pilot who had who had to abandon his profession because, quote, his wife behaved in such a way as to lessen his capacity to fly. Every day when he returned home, he found her shedding tears of joy. Having become in this way accident conscious, he dreaded catastrophe when he had to face a delicate situation. The individual who is a servant of technique must be completely unconscious of himself. Without this quality, he reflexes, and his inclinations are not properly adapted to technique. Moreover, the physiological conditions of the individual must answer to technical demands. Junk gives an impressive picture of the experiments in training and control of jet pilots have to undergo. The pilot is whirled on centrifugal I'm on centrifuges until he blacks out, quote unquote, in order to measure his toleration of acceleration. There are catapults, ultrasonic chambers, etc., in which the candidate is forced to undergo unheard of tortures in order to determine whether he has adequate resistance and whether he is capable of piloting new machines. That the human organism is technically speaking an imperfect one and demonstrated by the experiments. These sufferings the individual endures in these laboratories are considered to be due to the biological weaknesses, quote unquote, which must be eliminated. New experiments have been pushed even further to determine the reactions of space pilots and to prepare these heroes for their roles of tomorrow. This has been given to a new science, biometry, for example. Their one aim is to create the new man, the man adapted to the technical functions. It will be objected to these examples are extreme. Right? This is certainly the case, but to a degree that a lesser degree, the same problem exists everywhere. The more technique evolves, the more extreme its character becomes. The order of all the modern, the object of all the modern human sciences, quote unquote, is to find answers to these problems. Now he says the key line, right? And then we'll go to an example of technological determinism in one of these little shitty videos, right? All right. This is the enormous effort required to put this technical civilization into motion surpasses that all individual effort is directed towards this goal alone and that all social forces are mobilized to attain the mathematically perfect structure of the edifice. Mathematically, quote unquote, does not mean, quote unquote, rigidly. The perfect technique is the most adaptable and consequently the most plastic one. True techniques will know how to maintain the illusion of liberty, choice, and individuality, but these will have been carefully calculated so that they will be integrated into the mathematical reality merely as appearances. Let me read that again. Technique will know how to maintain the illusion of liberty, choice, and individuality, but these will have been carefully calculated so they will be integrated into the mathematical reality merely as appearances. Merely as appearances. Henceforth, it will be wrong for a man to escape this universal effort. It will be inadmissible for any part of the individual not to be integrated in the drive towards technization. It will be inadmissible that any man even aspire to escape the necessity of the whole society. Right? No, not against technology, just against mechanization. Okay, against technology ruling human society. Okay, wherefore humans guiding technology. Right? That's perfectly fine, right? We're showing how that's not the case, right? But yeah. The individual will no longer be able materially or spiritually to disengage himself from society. Materially, he will not be able to release himself because the technical means are so numerous that they invade his whole life and make it impossible for him to escape the collective phenomenon. There is no longer an uninhabited place for any other geographical locale for the would-be solitary. It is no longer possible for to refuse entrance into a community, to a highway, a high tension line, or a dam. It is vain to aspire to live alone when one is obliged to participate. In all collective phenomenon, and to use all collective tools, without which it is impossible to earn a bare subsistence. Nothing is gratis any longer in our society, and to live on charity is less and less possible. Quote unquote social advantages are for the workers alone, not for quote useless mouths, unquote. Solitary is a useless mouth and will have no ration card up to the day he is transported to a penal colony. Okay, an attempt was made to institute this procedure during the French Revolution. He notes. Okay, spiritually, it will be impossible for the individual to disassociate himself from society. This is due to the existence of social techniques. No, I'm sorry, spiritual techniques, meant to say, which have increasing force in our society, but rather to our situation, we are constrained to be quote unquote engaged, as the existentialists say, with technique. Positively or negatively, our spiritual attitude is constantly urged, if not determined, by the situation. Only bestiality, because it is unconscious, would seem to escape this situation. And is itself only a product of the machine. And there we have a key instinct, okay, of the equality-based ethos, right, and of the modern or the postmodern, okay, which is the neo-primitivism of the modern age, right? And we're going to move to a video here, okay, on technological determinism. And I didn't look hard for this video. Okay, I'll show you guys, right? It's literally the first video on the subject that's on YouTube. So let's watch the first video on the subject, right? They don't give credit to Ellul, obviously, or they may, right? But yeah, if you back out of this and you just, YouTube/results question search _ query equals technological plus determinism, right? And if you search technological determinism, you get 2 or 3 videos. This video, what is World Science Festival? What is technological determinism? Right? How technology shapes society, technological determinism. This 11 minutes long. Right? Okay, technological determinism. Dana Showalter, examples of technological determinism, right? So anyways, so essentially what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on the first video, right? Let's look at the first video. 3 minutes long, technological determinism. Okay, and of course, Ellul thought of this in 1964, right? So let's watch some of this video and see what they say.
Technological determinism is the idea that technology shapes society. According to this theory, advancements in technology drive changes in how people live, work, and communicate. In other words, technology is seen as the main force that determines how society evolves. While other factors, like culture or politics, play a lesser role, technology is viewed as an independent factor that influences how people behave and organize themselves. The origins of tech.
Now think about it, right? People are trying to gain economic security, right? They're trying to smash liberalism by culture jamming, right? They're trying to attack people, right? That are symptoms of the problem, right? Nobody's actually paying attention to the objective factor of power, right? We all seem to collude in that regard, right? So we all seem to support the main power structure, right? Conformity in our age is nothing more than conformity to the technological system, right? And of course, it can psychologically manipulate and, create, a type of slavery that's amenable to those who go under its guise, right? Right. As Ellul says later, right, in another work, it's the Grand Inquisitor, right? You could get anything you want as long as you give up control to the Grand Inquisitor, right? Okay, gain the world at the price of your soul, right? Right, essentially.
Technological determinism can be traced back to the Industrial Revolution in the 18th and 19th centuries. During this time, rapid advancements in machinery and industry dramatically changed the way people worked, lived, and interacted. Early thinkers like Karl Marx and Thorstein Veblen suggested that these technological changes were the primary cause of social and economic transformations. Later in the 20th century, theorists such as Marshall McLuhan popularized the idea that media technologies like television and radio were shaping human society in powerful ways. Over time, technological determinism became a key concept in discussions about the impact of new inventions on society. An example of technological determinism is the invention of the internet. The internet has dramatically changed the way people communicate, do business, and even form relationships. It has led.
So look at that. They mentioned Marx, they mentioned Veblen, right? Okay. They even mentioned Marshall McLuhan, but they never mentioned Ellul, right? You'll notice that all of these videos, right? There's almost no mention of Ellul in most of these videos, right? And then when you search up Ellul, there's not that many videos. There's actually a lot of videos in French too that aren't translated, right? So it seems like there was an interest to translate what he was saying. Even, I mean, it's actually kind of shocking, right? Even though he was promoted in his own time, and some of his reflections were some of the most hard hitting, right, and most accurate ones regarding this particular issue, right? So, yeah, but he definitely talked about media technology shaping society. He definitely talked about technological determinism, right? He definitely talked about automation and how it would affect society, right? So, yeah, definitely, it's it's Simon Magus, where he's reanimation, right, where you could imitate God by reanimating, but it doesn't have any of the spirit moving through it. Right? So, yeah, blessings, Dr. D Head. Blessings to WASF. Blessings to Carpenter's Journey. Thank you for being here. Yeah, thank you thank you, Sam. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Golden Renaissance. Blessings, homie. God is real. Blessings. Daughter of Assassins. What's going on, homie? All right. Yeah, let's go on here.
To the rise of social media platforms, e-commerce, and instant global communication. This change in technology has transformed societies, allowing people to connect across the world in real time, creating new ways of interacting that didn't exist before. Another example is the invention of the automobile. Cars revolutionized transportation, leading to the growth of suburbs, changes in city design, and new ways of working and living. Both of these examples show how technology can alter the structure of society. One of the strengths of technological determinism is that it highlights the important role technology plays in shaping society. It helps explain why certain social changes happen at the same time as technological advances, such as how the rise of smartphones led to changes in communication and social interaction. It also provides a simple framework for understanding how new inventions can lead to social transformations, making it easier to see connections between technology and society. However, a key weakness of technological determinism is that it often oversimplifies the relationship between technology and society. It assumes that technology is the main driver of social change.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of said it oversimplifies it, but it didn't kind of explain, how it oversimplifies it, right? So, is technology not a significant enough factor, right, in the relationship between, the members of the society? What else I got? It says assumes technology is the main driver of social change, but you just said that, technology was the main driver of social change in social, cultural, and political factors, and even economic factors, right? So, those are pretty big, right? So, and obviously, this 3-minute
Ignoring
video,
the fact that human choices, culture, and political decisions also play significant roles in shaping society. For example, while smartphones have changed the way people communicate, it's not just the technology itself, but how people choose to use it that matters. Critics argue that technological
I have to retort that actually it's pretty clear how cell phones have changed the way that people actually physically communicate, right? If you look at text messages, right? If you look at these, internet call-in shows, even, technology has vastly transformed the way people communicate, right? The way they talk to each other, how, what actions people consider sincere, what actions people consider to be real actions, right? Versus fake, right? All those ideas are radically transformed, right? So communication itself is being transformed by technology. If that's not a major factor or major change, right? Then I don't really know what is, right? And that's why we say that symbols are the primary form of technique, right? And that's why we go to the architectonic, where man is the symbol making animal. A major aspect of man's techniques were made for, not for his survival, right? For cultural activities, right? Symbolic activities.
determinism fails to consider the complex interaction between human agency and technological development. Alternatives to technological determinism.
Yeah, that last one's really weak, right? That last one's really weak, right? Because we're not just talking about human beings using tools, right? We're talking about large-scale technologies, large-scale systems, right? And complex adaptive systems, and the way they change over time, right, is very unpredictable, right? So, and we're talking about the, um, reification of thousands of human decisions, right? Not just, you know, one act of human will that requires somebody to use technology, right? So technology is not just about use, as we've seen, right? It functions on a much greater level. Anyways.
Includes social determinism and constructivism. Social determinism suggests that society and culture, not technology, are the main forces that shape human behavior and technological development. According to this view, technology is just a tool that people use to meet their social and cultural needs. Constructivism, on the other hand, argues that technology and society shape each other. It sees technology as something that is created and influenced by human choices, and in turn it influences how society functions. These alternatives offer more nuanced explanations of how society and technology interact, suggesting that technological changes are not the only factor driving social evolution. To learn more about constructivism.
So they didn't prove that last point. They just said there's alternative views, right? They didn't actually prove that those views help us understand the situation better, right? Or that they're viable alternatives, right, to the view of technological determinism, right? So you know, so we'll just leave that there. But yeah, let's go back to Ellul. Ellul's gonna obviously retort some of their main points here, right? It says every conscious being today is walking a narrow edge of decision with regard to technique. He who maintains that he can escape it is either a hypocrite or unconscious. The autonomy of technique forbids the man of today to choose his destiny. Doubtless someone will ask if it has not always been the case that social conditions, environmental, manorial oppression, and the family condition man's fate. The answer is, of course, yes. But there is no common denominator between the suppression of ration cards in an authoritarian state and the family pressure of 2 centuries ago. In the past, when an individual entered into conflict with society, he led a harsh and miserable life that required a vigor which either hardened or broke him. Today, the concentration camp and death await him. Technique cannot tolerate aberrant activities. Because of autonomy of technique, modern man cannot choose his means any more than his ends. In spite of variability and flexibility according to place and circumstance, there are which are characteristic of technique. There is still only a single employable technique in a given place and time, which an individual is situated. We have already examined the reason for this. At this point, we must consider the major consequences of the autonomy of technique. This will bring us to the climax of this analysis. Okay, and this is the last part of this analysis here, right? As we've said, right? In terms of the autonomy of technique, right? And he says technical autonomy explains the specific way, quote unquote, with which technique is endowed. It is not a kind of neutral matter. Okay. Now we're going to look at another video here on is technology neutral? Okay. But first I'm going to read this paragraph, right? Okay. Is technology morally neutral, right? It says a kind of he says it is not a kind of neutral matter with no direction, quality, or structure. Okay, it is a power endowed with its own peculiar force. It refracts in its own specific sense. It wills, which make use of it, and the ends proposed for it, indeed, independently of the objectives that man pretends to assign to any given technical means. That means always conceals in itself a finality which cannot be evaded. And if there is competition between this intrinsic finality and extrinsic end proposed by man, it is always the intrinsic finality which carries the day. If technique in question is not exactly adapted to a proposed human end, if an individual pretends that he is adapting the technique to this end, it is generally quickly evident it is the end which is being modified, not the technique. Of course, this statement must be qualified by what has already been said concerning the endless refinement of techniques and their adaptation. But this adaptation is effected with reference to the techniques concerned and to the condition of their applicability. It does not depend on external ends. Perrot, Perrot, has demonstrated this case of judicial techniques as Gideon in the case of mechanical techniques concerning that overall problem, the relation between the ends and means. I take the liberty of referring to my own work, okay, called The Presence of the Modern World. Okay, now let me go to the video that I have on is technology neutral, right? Did the same thing here, right? All right, and I popped up the video with the infographic, right? Okay, so here is technology neutral, right? Okay, this kind of random lady, right? I'm not too interested in what she's got to say. This random dude, not too interested in what he's got to say. Now, this type of wonky video with the type of infographics, wireless philosophy, National Endowment for Humanities. Is technology as neutral as we think it is? Okay, this is
There's no use fighting.
This is the type of jam that we're looking for. Plain Jane. Okay, Pogo analysis on the issue, right? So we can almost look at, what the normie sort of take on the issue is. Obviously, they're not going to be as extreme as what ellul is saying, right? So we're going to have to consider that.
I'm Ryan Jenkins, a philosophy professor at Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. Lots of people think that technology is neutral, that it's just a tool that takes us from A to B, or helps us solve a problem more efficiently, without raising any difficult questions about our values. For example, you might think a car is just a better horse-drawn carriage, a light bulb is just a better candle, or a thermostat is just a better fireplace. And this is especially true when you think about the way computers help us make decisions. Lots of people think that data is objective. So if you're asking a computer to analyze data for you, then there's one right answer that it should give. I think this view is comforting because it eliminates the need for human judgment. Our own choices don't seem to enter into the picture if technology is just making our lives easier, faster, or more efficient in the best way possible. But I also think this view is mistaken. Let's look at one of the simplest uses of computer algorithms sifting through data for us, one that you and billions of other people use every day: search engines. Google is the world's most popular search engine. When you go to Google and search for something, you probably think you're getting the best result, the website that's the best fit for your search. But there's actually no such thing as an objective Google search result. Google tailors its search results to what it thinks its users want to see. The search results served to two people will depend on their location, browsing history, and other signals that Google uses. And this makes sense. If I'm searching for pizza, I want to see pizza restaurants near me, not in another city or in another country. But let's take another example that's more serious. In some cases, Google offers different information to users or hides information entirely, even when what they search for has an objective answer. Imagine a user who searches for something like, what are the best ways to commit suicide? First, ask yourself, what would an objective answer to this question be? Well, we have data about the answer to this question. Maybe the computer algorithms performing the search should just show the user the most relevant information to answer their question. But then take a minute and ask yourself, what should Google tell the user really? What Google actually offers up is the number for a nationwide 24-hour suicide hotline and a message telling you that you're not alone and that confidential help is available for free. Now, that's not what the user searched for, and it's not actually helping the user find what they want. It looks like actually human values are influencing the way that the technology works. And this seems like a good thing, right? The same is true at YouTube, which is owned by Google. If a user searches for information about terrorist groups like ISIS, YouTube will show them anti-ISIS and anti-terrorism videos instead. If users search for information about the COVID virus or the COVID vaccine, the site points them to reputable sources rather than misinformation, which could lead people to make bad decisions about their own health. If something as straightforward as search were really a simple matter of efficiently crunching objective data, then these results would be surprising. Instead, it seems like Google is willing to alter the function of its product to nudge users in certain directions, away from suicide, away from terrorism, towards vaccines for COVID. But if it's okay for Google to alter its search results for certain purposes, what values should guide them? Should Google just show users whatever results they want to see, whatever advertisers want them to see? Or should Google limit the results to only what's in the user's best interest or what's good for society overall?
Okay, so see, the machine will have to be programmed to obey a certain level of moral calculus, right? Okay, that functions in society abroad, right? But who gets to determine what's programmed there and how it applies it, right? So these are all going to be gray areas.
And who at Google should be trusted to decide what's in the best interest of each user, let alone society?
Okay, so they're just saying it now, right?
At large. Especially when billions of people,
of course, society at large cannot decide such a thing, right?
Use their search every day and rely on it to make decisions that affect their well-being and the well-being of others. So while we think that technology is neutral or merely a tool, what we've seen here is that even something as simple as a search engine reflects our individual choices and values. And moreover, a lot of these choices made by Google seem like the right choice. They probably should try to steer people away from committing suicide and towards resources that could help them. Now, this is
so
simply a
weird
story
that
about search. Keep in mind that
in this Pogo video, they could talk about, the COOF and any of these other issues, right? Self-harm, right? We can't even mention those words, right? Or else we'll get. But in this Pogo video, they could literally mention the most dangerous topics, search on Google how to, off yourself, any type of stuff. I mean, they could talk about in this video, which is pretty interesting, right? As long as it's Pogo.
computers are now helping us make decisions about who gets hired for a job, who's allowed to fly on a plane, how long a criminal might go to prison for a crime, who gets a loan from a bank, and much more. We should be careful not to be overly naive about the computer programs involved in these decisions either. What seems like computers crunching objective data turns out to offer lots of opportunities for designers to input their own values and decisions into the way technology works. This can be an intimidating thought, much less comforting than thinking that developing technologies is a rather bland and one-dimensional job of just making things more efficient. Instead, this realization pushes us to ask, what's the role of our values in shaping technology? When should efficiency or objectivity be balanced against other things we care about, like human health or society's well-being?
Right, and who should balance them? Right, as they just said, right? Who's guiding technological change? Right? Is there somebody who gets to decide which technologies we use and don't use? Or are those decisions themselves conditioned by technical factors on an individual level and considerations of efficiency abroad? Right?
What do you think?
Okay, I think that's pretty much the end of the video, right? But yeah, they're asking the question of whether technology is morally neutral, right? Okay, it's a key question. It's going to be a key question in philosophical debates. Okay, questions about technologically technological determinism. Is technology driving human society? And questions about, is technology morally neutral? These are going to be two main questions going forward, right? And one of the main people who invented or put the pressure on these questions was Jacques Ellul, right? So I'm going to go back to his text here. And thank you for joining, to the people who are here. I greatly appreciate you guys being here, right? Thank you. But here he says, once again, we are faced with a choice, all or nothing. If we make use of technique, we must accept the specificity and autonomy of its ends and the totality of its rules. Our own desires and aspirations can change nothing. The second consequence of technical autonomy is that it renders technique at once sacrilegious and sacred. Sacrilegious is not used here in theological, but the sociological sense. Sociologists have recognized that the world in which man lives is for him not only material, but also a spiritual world. That forces act in it which are unknown, perhaps unknowable. That there are phenomena in it which man interprets as magical. And there are relations and correspondences between things and beings which material connections are of little consequence. This whole area is mysterious mystery, but not in the Catholic sense, is an elemental part of man's life. Jung shows us that it is catastrophic to make superficially clear what is hidden in man's innermost depths. Man must make allowance for a background, a great deep above, which lie his reason and his clear conscience. Mystery of the world he inhabits. Or perhaps this mystery is a reality in itself. Okay, there is no way to decide between these two alternatives, but one way or another, mystery is a necessity of human life, right? Mystery, right? Okay, that goes beyond beauty, goes beyond aesthetics, goes beyond philosophy, right? That dwells in the sacred, right? A relation beyond, a beauty that's well beyond relation. Okay, found in things that man has no explanation for, right? Man needs secrets. He needs an inner world. He needs beauty, right? He says man cannot live without a sense of the secret. Psychoanalysts agree on that point, but the invasion of technique desacralizes the world, right? So not only do you have the myth of progress, right, which is the invasion of the technical into the teleological sphere, right? But you have the desacralization of nature, which is the invasion of technique into the ontological sphere, right? As we hitherto predicted, right? Okay, invasion of technique desacralizes the world in which man is called upon to live. For technique, nothing is sacred. There is no mystery, no taboo. Autonomy makes it so. Technique does not accept the resistance of rules outside itself or any norm. Still less will it accept any judgment upon it. As a consequence, no matter where it penetrates, what it does is permitted, lawful, justified. To a great extent, mystery is desired by man. It is not that he cannot understand or enter into or grasp mystery, but he does not desire to do so. The sacred is what man decides unconsciously to respect. The taboo becomes compelling from a social standpoint, but there's always a factor of adoration and respect, which does not derive from compulsion and fear. Technique worships nothing, respects nothing. Let me read that again. Technique worships nothing, respects nothing. As a single role, to strip off externals, to bring everything to light, and by rational use transform everything into means. Okay, this last point is very important. Rational use transform everything into means, right? So the externalization of means, right? As we said, is part and parcel of the process of technique itself, right? That it engenders in a human society. At the same time, complexification imbues assimilation. At the same time, complexification, okay, imbues the long determined process, right, in which man cannot be influencer or guider. Okay, more than science, which limits itself to explaining how technique desacralizes because it demonstrates by evidence and not by reason, through use and not through books. That mystery does not exist. Science brings to the light of day everything man has believed sacred. Technique takes possession of it and enslaves it. The sacred cannot resist. Science penetrates to the great depths of the sea to photograph the unknown fish of the deep. Technique captures them, hauls them up to see if they're edible. But before they arrive on the deck, they burst. And why should technique not act thus? It is autonomous and recognizes us barriers only, the temporary limits of its action. In its eyes, this terrain, which is for the moment unknown but not mysterious, must be attacked. Must be attacked. Far from being restrained by any scruples before the sacred, technique constantly assails it. Everything which is not yet technique becomes so. It is driven onward by itself, by its character of self augmentation. Technique denies mystery a priori. The mystery is merely that which has not yet been technicized. Technique advocates the entire remaking of life and its framework because they have been badly made. Since heredity is full of chance, technique proposes to suppress it and to engender the kind of men necessary for its ideal of service. The creation of the ideal, man, will soon be a simple technical operation. It is no longer necessary to rely on the chances of family or on personal vigor, which is called virtue, right? Okay, that's true, right? Okay, in Kurzweil's man that is, his machine parts are indistinguishable from his biological parts, right? Okay, what part does the family have to play in creating that man? Way less of a role, right? Through techniques that combine human and machines, the family will be siphoned out, right? Okay, it's already been siphoned out by techniques, right? Like abortion that have been applied to society on the large, right? And obviously people are meeting because of algorithms, right? So algorithm is becoming a sexual selector, as we've actually talked about right here. But yeah, hereditary is another one of those individual things, family, right? These things are going to be unpredictable. They're going to have to be taken out of the system, right? And we got a homie here. Blessings. Greetings. I don't know if you're there, friend, but yeah, blessings. Thank you for being here. And
Okay, I think I'm muted. Can you hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good. I'm sorry. I wanted to come up and talk to you about something because this is a great topic, one that I resonate with a lot, and I wanted to know your opinion on something. Technology is both wonderful and dangerous, and it's created a lot of conveniences for us, made our lives easier. I mean, I think the cell phone is a wonderful invention because it brings safety, to if you break down on the side of the road, you want a cell phone, right? But at what point do we say enough is enough? Because I see society not knowing when they should stop with technology. What do you think about that?
Well, see, this is the thing that with the cell phone, and other conveniences, right? It's been noted that cell phones and cars, right? They sort of start out as a convenience, right? To
Right,
where it becomes convenient to go and get a cell phone so that you could have certain situations, but pretty soon a cell phone or a car, they build roads just for cars. They
right,
build towns just because they're in between cities because of the cars, right? Like, so whole
right,
towns have been built because of cars. You know what I mean, right? And the same thing with cell phones, where entire businesses have been made, with the cell phone, like cell phone games and all types of other things, social media and all types of other things, applications and things, and obviously a lot of metadata being created. Another thing is people having the dating apps on their cell phones. So the algorithm is seeing like where you shop, where you travel, you
right,
know what I mean? And like where you are in terms of your location, and it's connecting you with certain people. So it's like the algorithm is deciding who you get to meet, and it's probably deciding who you meet by how much money they have. Now, see, when they wanted to create cars, right? They said, cars may eliminate families, right? Because it's a moving bed, right? So they said, and now we have this thing where we have people in our family that live several cities away, or they live on the other side of the country, and they'll take a road trip to come and see you. You know what I mean? When back in the day, families used to live closer together. You know what I mean? And
right,
they used to have more close-knit communities. So the same problems that we resolved, you know what I mean, with technology, we resolved through human means before. And then, like when they made airplanes, they said, well, airplanes are going to actually change the national borders, because you could go anywhere in the world. You can fly anywhere in the world, right? So it's going to alter the way nation states are formed, because there's not going to be any more national borders. Well, if you could fly over a country's border and drop a nuclear bomb on a city, you know what I mean, right? Then the airplane has changed everything very significantly, you know what I mean? In terms of, you know what I mean? And then you amplify that with drones and all that shit. Well, if you go back to Marshall McLuhan, he was saying that, TV was gonna change people from reading books, and he said basically essentially what it's gonna do is that people are gonna focus more on images instead of words. they're not going to analyze statements, but they're going to analyze how things look, the appearance of things. I mean, so he said that,
Exactly.
yeah. So he said that the translation of images through the television instead of books would change the way that people interact with information on a fundamental level. That people would
Right.
learn to interpret the iconicity of symbols instead of the analysis of text. And this would mean that people will start to think on a different level, start to internalize information on a different level, right? So at what level are we supposed to consider how technology affects us? Or what level are we supposed to limit technology? Well, if you go back to Plato, he said we should censor writing. So certain people said you should control what people write, because if you can control what people see and hear, you can control what they think and say.
That's a good point.
So, I mean, so but then at the end of the day, we're technology, we're technological, from our very nature, right? So the thing is that, it's all a matter of how much technology, right? And this is a great question. Where do we put the limit? And different people are gonna put the limit at different places. Some people are gonna say we need to go back to a time where life was more simple. Some people will say there's no going back to a time, that it's too late to go back, right? That technology has already altered human society so much that we could only go forward in a different way. We can't go back to how things were. I mean, so there's that argument. I mean, right? And then there's, at what level of technology do you want to have in human society? So all of these are great questions that we're trying to pose here. But we also notice as we pose these questions that there's not that many discussions on those questions. Or framing those issues, right?
Right, and I feel that people are so caught up in all of the wonderful conveniences and all of the ways that makes your life so much better, that they're not thinking ahead about wait a minute here. What happens when the machines start programming themselves and taking over everything? I mean, there's a possibility for anything. And I just don't think that humans are thinking about how dangerous technology can be, because I do believe it can be.
Yeah, and how how people have lost a lot of freedom. So that is
Yeah.
the thing, that freedom, is a double-edged sword. Like, if you see, somebody could give you the ability to do something and have control over you. You know what I mean? While you do it. I mean, because they gave you the means to accomplish it. You know what I mean? So
Right.
this is the thing, that technology is constantly poisoning the well of human freedom. You know what I mean, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
and in that way, you know what I mean, and also it's kind of, as we said, that it's created the individual. That this kind of democratic, sort of deracinated, sort of non-traditional, modernized, homogenized, monocultural, every man is sort of fundamental, because they wanted to create a man based on the equality-based ethos. The same type of dude that you can study in any laboratory and he'll give you the same results. They had to eliminate human error, from the equation. So
Right.
that's another thing, that it cannot take human decisions and moral calculus into its framework at all. I mean, because efficiency is a different moral calculus than human values, right? Can ascertain. I mean, so this is it's getting to a real situation where it's leading to a type of moral paralysis. I mean,
Yeah. It's creating a society that doesn't think for themselves, because the information is right there at your fingertips, so you don't have to think about it. Your choices are made. And I think more and more people are losing common sense. And common sense is thinking through things yourself and figuring things out, because you no longer have to do that. And I think that's where the danger lies.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like how I like what Alul is saying here because he's saying that that is sort of, you know, tells science what to do. He says science penetrates to the great depths of the sea to photograph the unknown fish of the deep. Technique captures them, hauls them up to see if they're edible. So he says that, you know, that that basically, technique goes a step beyond science because it's the demonstrative proof of what science so-called claims. It says science uses reason, but you know, technology uses demonstration and proof. Right? So really what
Right,
science
right.
what science wants to achieve is really in the technology. And right? So, so this is the thing that, and actually the scientists themselves are quite ambivalent when their research is used to create some sort of destructive technology. And right, they're always like protesting and stuff. It's kind of right. So that's the thing is like, I mean, they don't understand that they're not behind the driver's seat. It's not the person who invents the thing. It's the system
Right.
itself that's guiding, human decisions. Right, and that's the
Mm,
thing that most people can't get their head around, and that's the thing
yeah.
that they don't want to accept because of the conveniences. Because once they say, "Well, how much control am I willing to take back from the system?" I mean,
Yeah.
and that's the real question that people have to ask themselves. You know what I mean? And it's gonna be some bloody choices behind that. For
I know.
sure.
I think people are lazy. At the best, they're lazy. They don't want to be bothered with control because I'll let the machine do it. But on the other hand, it's not a good thing in my opinion. I've been really against AI for a long time because I can see where it's going. Maybe I've watched too many science fiction movies. I don't know, but I don't trust it.
Yeah, I got a lot of arguments against AI. But yeah, I mean, really, it's increased mechanization. If I had to put a limit on it, I would say that we should limit the use of machines. I think tools are fine. I think musical instruments are
Yes.
fine. I mean,
Right.
I think bow and arrow is fine. I think things that can move at the speed and pace of human movement and things that people can really make themselves. I think we should have more, technology that people can make themselves and build on their own. You know, uh,
Right.
so it's functional and it is concerned with human use. I mean, right?
Right.
So I think that changing the scale of technology on on that level, I think where it's more functional in terms of human like usability, but like in terms of like the large scale technologies, large scale automation, digital technologies. I mean, I'm pretty harsh on those. And I think
I
that
agree.
those have kind of corrupted human society. They create like ways for, you know, large scale industry, increased centralization, bigger governments. I mean, they create the means for international trade. There you get, multiculturalism, monoculture, all those types of things. So I think all of these things can be avoided if we just change the scale of technology. So that's my personal thing, but I think that you know,
I think that's a
it
good solution.
yeah,
I agree with you. Yeah. Yeah.
among the proposed radical so-called radical solutions and all the truthers and all their so-called radical beliefs, nobody's proposed that. I mean, I'm just think that's very surprising. That
Yes.
that there's such a psyop that everybody thinks that the way to change society is through technology. Even though technology is a thing that's sort of poisoning the well, right? So
Exactly.
I just think that that is a fascinating, and And people always say, well, it's not the technology, it's the people that are using machines to control the people. And I say, who are those people? I said, those people are conditioned by the use of machines, 100%.
Right.
So, so, these people that we think are in control, they're barely flying in the sky like shitless pigeons. Trying to hang on to the the pattern that they're flying in. Or the fall out of the sky.
Well, and who's controlling them?
Right.
Because a lot of this is driven by the globalists, the politicians, the billionaires. They all have an agenda. Whoever's controlling whatever has an agenda. So how can you trust that? Even if it's just making money off of it at your expense, it dehumanizing society. They don't care. They're just making more money off of it. So it goes back to the source too. It's like you said, it's who controls it.
Yeah, and as system gets more interconnected, and innovation within that system accelerates, it's harder and harder to control.
Right.
So this is the game that's being played on an international scale. And for some reason, I see there's lots of people that you know they don't seem to see the scale of the like they'll propose solutions, right? Like we need to take over the media, or and do what? Or they'll propose solutions like you need a homestead or build your own community and become like a sitting duck, right? So they could like fly over you every 10 minutes. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
or something else stupid like that. Or you need to like get rid of liberalism, and then we'll have like techno conservatism or something stupid like that, right? And it's like, what are you people smoking, right? So this is the
Yeah,
thing is that
exactly.
yeah, so this is the thing is that there's so many fake solutions, and they're almost like, cringe, and so this is the thing is that people propose all these philosophies of solutions, they propose all these alternative lifestyles of solutions, and that's the problem, is that they're not paying attention to the main thing that's guiding human civilization. They're almost acting like it doesn't exist, and then they're acting like they're not totally enslaved. So there's this huge problem that so you finally have to ask them, is like, do you really think that the technological system is liberating you? That you're empowered to do all these things. Right? That you can that you actually have more choice now than ever before, that human beings wield in their hands magnificent power, and now they can make their own decisions, and all these delusions. That people seem to have. Right?
Right.
And the only solution really is that enough people, band together and actually see the problem for what it is. Right? You know, um,
Yep.
and as critical as that is, and unfortunately, can only count on my hands how many people actually see the issues. Right? And then there's people, obviously, dozens of people trying to derail. And trying to poison the well of discussion. So that's also a case.
Yes. Yes, that's
So
also a factor.
that there's spies afoot. I just got message, like, people get told not to watch my shows by other people. Higher ups. So I've been told.
Oh
So
wow.
there's lots of these types of situations that go on, nefarious types of situations, where you never know who's watching, you never know
Yeah.
why, you never know who's
Mm.
trying to look into you and for what reason. And
Yeah.
obviously, you're not supposed to question the system. You could tell why, no matter what, on the left and the right, they both promote science and technology. That's really weird.
Yeah.
There's almost no existing critique of this one fucking issue. I mean, right?
Mhm.
It's kind of strange. I mean, right? Every other issue down the line, they're split. I mean, on art, on religion, on liberalism, on communism,
Mhm.
on every other issue, they're literally split down the middle. I mean, but this one issue, science and progress, we need it at all costs. And we have to continue it at all costs.
Mhm.
Right? It's a house of cards that has to be kept
Mhm.
afloat. I mean, right? It doesn't matter how many human beings get eliminated in the process. And
Right.
and it's like, why? It's like, so what happens if you just leave everybody alone and they have to
Right.
fend for themselves? Society adjusts itself.
Yeah.
We go back to how we used to do things,
Yeah.
right? Or we continue on today with what we have, okay, and put a halt to progress.
Right.
So these are the things that I think really, really have to be proposed vigorously. They have to be proposed in the internet chats. They have to be proposed in the forums so that people can actually question, you know, on what basis human civilization functions. So they could actually take a critical look at human society and stop. See, this is where people stop thinking for themselves, right? Is where you get to this level, and then it's like, all right, we can't go deeper and think, why we're not in control, why all this technology is being imposed on us, and how much of it do we want in our lives, right? And if we can't make a collective decision on those issues, then we're slaves, right?
Right.
So if it's just up to enough people to realize that, so that they can take a critical look at the issue itself. I mean, I have faith in humanity. I know that good will win out over evil, personally. I mean, but I believe in God and all of those types of things. So, I mean, and I've personally seen the efficacy of truth versus falsehood. So I believe that, I don't believe that falsehood can actually sustain itself for long periods of time. I mean,
Yeah.
so,
I'd like to think so too. That's
yeah,
just I I believe what you believe too, but I'm kind of losing faith with humanity, not because good versus evil, just because of they're not paying attention to what's going on. And does it, then what happens if they suddenly just see that it was not a good thing, but we're already in it? How do you reverse it? I think it's better to stop it before it gets to a certain point. But I don't see that people see that.
right, right, and that's another key thing is that, you know, as long as enough of people are able to see the problem, it's not too late.
Right.
Right. So really putting the pressure on the issue itself and seeing if how late it
Right.
is. I
Right.
mean,
Right.
so and I'd say it's significantly late, right? I
Mm,
have
yes.
not promoted. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I haven't promoted this show at all, right? This is what it says on Grok, right? Or actually, I read this the other day, right? I read it on NPC the game, right? Because it said the AI functions on the Twitter website, right? So I went and asked it about myself, right? And I thought, like, what does it have to say about me, right? So it
Yeah.
said this. It said Lies Machine is a tech skeptic philosopher who hosts Wednesday and Saturday night discussions railing against the mechanical heart of modern life while dreaming of a low-tech high life rooted in tradition over innovation. Then it said that he's been dissecting tech's takeover from ellul's mechanical musings to debating transhumanism's wild ride. And then it falsely attributes a quote to me that's actually a quote by Orwell that says efficiency for the sake of efficiency is a circular goal. So
You're
so
a bad You're a bad man.
So apparently they've gotten wind. So this is what the machine says about
Yeah,
the situation here. I mean,
yeah,
now it's wrong in many ways,
right.
right? Probably give it a C minus, especially for misattributing that quote. I mean, but
Well, it's the words that they use to describe you. That there's some truth in, but then they put a negative slant on it.
yeah, railing and kind of like
Yeah, yeah,
making me look like I'm like I got a Bible and a gun. I mean, you know, just a crazy drunk man with a Bible and a
yeah.
gun. I mean,
Right, right.
but yeah, it's okay though. I mean, but the thing is that tech skeptic, interesting wording,
Right,
right?
exactly.
From a
Well,
machine, right?
yeah, well, see, that's the thing that bothers me one of the things that bothers me the most is nothing is objective anymore. Everything is subjective, and they all have to have these slants that they throw on it rather than just stating the facts. That this is what you do, blah blah blah, but not put in all of these words that are negative to negative connotation to it.
Yeah, but you know, um, having done this, I've been watched by agencies. I've interacted with agents. I've been threatened. Obviously we've been doxxed by a couple people actually. Not just the people that people know about. I mean, and also harassed by a few people. I mean, so just for talking about technology, isn't that weird? 17
Sounds it.
people watching this, I mean, right? So I think that it's getting later and later in how many people want to listen to a message surrounding critical themes. I mean, I think most people, and the harsh reactions that people have given, like people
Yeah.
have said, like, essentially that we're anti-human, that essentially we're misanthropic, that we're accelerationists, that we want the system to fail. I mean, all these types of things, people have, you know, told all sorts of tall tales that we're trying to break down Western society from the inside by convincing
Um,
white people to abandon technology because we're some kind of Islamic terrorist, or something like
no,
that.
no.
All sorts of crazy scenarios that people have mentioned. I mean,
Yeah.
whereas I could tell you more about the American Constitution and the laws of this country than most Americans. I mean, definitely, and I am an American citizen. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and all these types of things. I mean, we've learned more, and we will do a special eventually on the Federalist Papers, the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin, the writings of Thomas Jefferson, and some of the and some of the anti-federalist papers as well. Right, but we studied extensively both the laws and the establishment of civil governance in this country. Okay, we've studied many political and philosophical theories. We've read several classical texts in philosophy. We've explored the writings of Friedrich Nietzsche here on the show. We've explored 2 or 3 philosophical texts. We've explored manuals for guerrilla warfare. We've given scenarios, end game scenarios for the end of technological civilization. We've given tons of analysis on political history. We've read many works in political philosophy and political theories, including Marxism, capitalism, and their foundations, and all of those types of things. Okay, so we know quite a bit, and we're willing to explore quite a bit, okay, with you guys about the architectonic and the nature of political power, social dynamics, and technological progress in our age in order to see what the problems and the solutions are to these problems. And of course, we're going to be developing courses and that type of thing on a number of these issues. Right now, we're giving lengthy explanations on Eastern philosophy. And I was going to finish the first chapter of ellul, but we ran out of time.
Oh, I'm sorry
I
for
mean,
taking up your time.
no, it's okay. Actually, I wanted to have people come in and discuss. I mean, I called people up here several times. So, I greatly appreciate your time, madam. thank you so much for joining.
Well, thank
Definitely.
you for having me. And
Of
I
course.
do apologize for taking up so much time.
No,
But thank you very much.
no, you're welcome anytime. Whatever we can fit. It's just a ongoing thing with the Lul on here, so I don't think people get
Okay.
sick of it. Hopefully not.
Okay.
But yeah, blessings.
Well,
Thank you for joining.
well, thank you. I'll let you close out your show. Thank you very much.
For sure, blessings. Yeah, don't be a stranger. Definitely, Sam. Great opinions, great feedback. Greatly appreciate that. Yeah, blessings, dude. To in a thought experiment, Dominic, Dr. D Head. All you guys joining. I greatly appreciate you guys. Okay. F the system exactly. Yeah, we'll bring back we got like 5 pages left. It's okay, guys. We'll bring it back tomorrow, right? Autonomy of technique, right? Right. All right. Look at what this guy said in the beginning of this. I just accidentally opened this up and look at what he said. Pretty funny. Technology isn't neutral, huh? Check this out.
Technology isn't neutral. It affects how we interact, how we think, but part of that, technology isn't neutral. It affects how we interact, how we think, but technology isn't neutral. It affects how we interact, how we think, but part of that.
Pretty weird coincidence, right? That I accidentally opened up that tab and that's what it says in the beginning of the video. Pretty weird, huh? But yeah, I got a couple more things I wanted to get up to you guys. I mean, yeah, a little Cool J. You know what I mean? Exactly. No middleman. Yeah, you can't let technology be the middleman. Daughter of assassins, blessings. Yeah, well typed. Exactly. Daughters is a G. The freak is a G. Trippy. Yeah, exactly. Trippy. But yeah, look, thank you for joining us here on The Machine Lies, where we talk about the lies of the machine on the machine that lies. Again, I hope you guys have clarities to see through the lies, my friends. I mean, the first step to blinding somebody is getting them to open their eyes. Okay, and the first step to seeing beyond the programming is to realize how you've been programmed, all right? And thank you for joining us here. We'll be back tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Okay, Eastern time. And I got some special replays for you guys tomorrow. Okay. And some special presentations on Dao De Ching. Okay, and I feel like I think we finished Bill Joy. We're on another reading now, right? But yeah, we got a lot of stuff looking at transhumanist ideas, right? We're going to be looking at the ideas of Peter Thiel. Okay. And also cyborgs. But yeah, let me open up some of this outro here. Blessings, guys. Thank you. Oh, wait, that's not the right one. That's not the right one. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for being here. Blessings.
time and left some slugs in my front door. Too close to home, it's time to call it quits. Wife threatens to leave, my daughter's throwing fits. What's the plan? The situation's out of hand, so I pick up the cordless and proceed to call my man. What up, black? Some niggas pulled up in the act and tried to bring the ruckus with a premeditated attack. Just fuck that, I ain't going out like that. Disrespect my home, I put some niggas on their back.
True that, kid, but give it a minute, yo, just wait.
To top it all off, they had out-of-state plates. Yo, who's these outsiders? Trying to make some noise, they better finish what they started, cause my squadron destroys. I'm pissed, these niggas is number one on my hit list, and I won't be satisfied until I see their death certificates. Retaliation, with a bit of hesitation, I'ma let these niggas sleep, then proceed with their assassination.
I don't know why, niggas is trying to bring it to me, but if they want my life, they gotta come take it from me. Ties between my family, nothing I know is stronger. I'm in too deep and I can't hold my breath any longer. I don't know why, niggas is trying to bring it to me, but if they want my life, they gotta come take it from me. Ties between my family, nothing I know is stronger. I'm in too deep and I can't hold my breath any longer. We gave it a week, then decided to make a move. We wanted the niggas to think that everything was cool, that they got away with something, assuming they got over. Loaded the trunk with explosives and pulled off in the Range Rover. Rolled on they block like 5-0 raided drug spot. Set the timer and turned their spot into a vacant lot. Looked in my rear view, saw flames and heard screams. Was aware of the fact I killed some innocent human beings, but I guess it was their time, cause we all gotta go. I took care of my business, kid, that's all that I know. At least that's what I thought, until I got home. I walked through the door and saw a note by the phone. It said, honey, I'm at the hospital, let me explain. Tanya went to visit a friend and the building went up in flames. Come as soon as you can, they don't think she's gonna make it. She's on life support, I need you here, I can't take it. I thought to myself, nah, couldn't be. Not my own flesh and blood, I refused to believe. But when I got to the hospital, they said it was too late. They said she didn't make it. My wife was irate, screaming like she was possessed by a demon, yelling fuck the world and life, what's the meaning? I asked her where it happened, she said down the block, down the street, around the corner from that drug spot. You mean the building on 53rd and 5th? She said, yeah, how did you know? An unfortunate lucky guess, I ran into the bathroom and almost threw up, cause that was the spot me and my man blew up. Oh shit, what the fuck am I gonna do? Oh shit.
Millennial Falcon. I saw 4 scaly fingers stout dragon spit flames a wind ninja. Hunter of equity, gathering energy. Sun moon bow and arrow strike the depths of the sea. Flows hang right beyond the branch of life's tree. You work hard for the money, find yourself on a shopping spree. Grasp images, snatch a silhouette of self. Slide through the starfish prime Van Allen belts. I levitate above the Hubble. Telescopic range, blood through my veins equals product of bubble. Spill my seed into this earth to rebirth and fertilize. Basking in a light 120 below Fahrenheit. Jenga spit Fahrenheit, ancient like troglodyte. Orchestrating chaos with Precambrian inside. Animalistic, metal claw go berserker. Stay happy in your compounds, your third gender clone workers. Champions on 6 sound, coated in magnesium. Exploding your flames and then take you to the heavens. Fake idol worship got you placed in the circuit. Merry band of misfits comes to burn down the circus. Toxins in my body, flesh dressed in rubbish. Laughing at you fucking people, devil stay puppets. You're just another customer, caught up in a double bluff. Magpies, you are sky, clocking diamonds in the rough. Knees all scuffed, trying to calculate his caper. Django Van Helsing is a champion of nature. Spy busters clocking us, you can stay stranger. CONR is champions of nature.
I said your majesty's armies can't hold the stand. Said your spy bastards can't hold the stand. Said your evil empires can't take the crown.
Seasons of espionage in London town.
Midnight run, scorpion tongues and dirty money. Spies move across the country and digital the sky. The truth slowly on rise, but gets muffled by opinion. Heroes turn villain in a twisted game of morals. The inner structure quarrels give us room to maneuver. The info source couples once we pinpoint the intruder. Trading in knowledge is like facts versus rumor. The lies contradictory spread throughout like rumors. Your freak virus, unleashed by modern science. Designed and equipped to keep the population in compliance. Global giants terrorize the foundation. A conflict over the
ways, a glaze over the ancients. Complications by unknown sources, cutting resources to make up for losses. Unseen bosses, well control's not electable, invariable, already in the hands of extraterrestrials. Said your majesty's armies can't hold a stand. Said your spy bastards can't hold a stand. Said your evil empires can't take our crown.
Seasons of espionage in London town. Analog head nod, android monologues, MIDI mix molotov, spitting at your modern gods, pop art repetition, hype factories, bird's eye beast man, advanced spy strategies and art house crime families. When a million crimson palm farm hands uprise savagely, snatch your assets and blood money salary. Plasticky idols embody your blasphemy. The final conflict, apathy versus anarchy. It's the art of warfare. Welcome to my gallery. The postmodernist monoliths are objects of sacrilege. To the novelist, the practices black magic with a pack of matches and candlesticks. Within brimstone and ash, the clone vanishes. The mathematician, I calculate averages. Outer states activist, I twist cannabis and spit anguish. I switch languages, covert operative, codename pacifist. I still resist the glamour of violence. Glorified fighting is the tool of the tyrant. All Her Majesty's armies can't take me down. All your evil empires can't take my crown. All your dirty spy bastards can't hunt me down.
Seasons of espionage in London town.
I said Her Majesty's armies can't take my crown. All your evil empires can't take me down. All your dirty spy bastards can't hunt me down.
Seasons of espionage in London town.
Yeah! Class Stepper Federation, mate! Yo, you watching me? I'm watching you!